When you take a walk down the streets of Tokyo or Osaka, something jumps out at you right away. Most people look pretty fit. You don't see a lot of the big bellies or heavy frames that are common in the US. These folks seem lean, energetic, and kind of effortlessly healthy. It's something a lot of Americans notice when they visit Japan. Everyone's walking around looking like they just came out of a lifestyle magazine without even trying. So naturally, the big question is why? What's their secret? Why do Japanese people stay so slim when so many Americans are fighting to lose weight every single year? Well, it's not about one magic trick or some genetic lottery. There's a whole mix of cultural habits, diet patterns, environment, mindset, and social norms that come together in a way that just naturally keeps their waistlines in check. Let's break it down piece by piece, in a relaxed way, but still keep it real and evidence-based. First off, the food. The Japanese diet is a major factor, and man, it's totally different from the way Americans eat. In Japan, people eat smaller portions, more variety, and a lot less processed stuff. Their traditional meals are built around rice, fish, veggies, seaweed, tofu, and soups, not heavy burgers or giant servings of fries. You don't see people loading up on sugary cereals for breakfast or sipping on those monster-sized sodas. A typical Japanese meal might look simple, but it's packed with nutrients, fiber, and clean protein. The flavors are lighter too, which helps people appreciate food without drowning everything in fat or sugar. Now, I know some people roll their eyes and say, yeah, it's the sushi, but it's way deeper than that. Sushi's just one part of a way bigger food culture. The Japanese have this whole philosophy around balance and presentation. Even the word ichiju sansai, which means one soup, 3 dishes, shows how their meals are built, not just for taste, but for nutrition and proportion. You've got your rice, your soup, your main dish, and a couple of sides, usually vegetables or pickled items. It's not a giant plate piled high. It's a handful of small bowls, each giving you something different. That kind of setup naturally limits overeating, because you're tasting a bunch of things but not inhaling massive portions of any one thing. Speaking of portions, man, portion sizes in Japan are a whole different world compared to what we're used to in the States. In America, it's like everything's supersized. We've got this more is better mentality, like we're getting ripped off if the plate isn't overflowing. But in Japan, the idea of food waste or overeating just doesn't fly. Restaurants serve reasonable portions. Convenience stores sell single-serving items instead of family-sized junk food bags. And even the snacks, like their little rice crackers or mochi, are packaged in smaller amounts. So folks there don't even get the chance to accidentally go overboard the way we do with, say, a medium soda that's basically a liter of sugar water in disguise. Then there's the whole vibe around eating. In Japan, people actually sit down to eat. Like it's an event, not a multitasking moment. You won't see a bunch of people scarfing down food while driving or walking to work. Eating is kind of sacred when you take your time. You appreciate your meal and you listen to your body. Compare that to the American habit of shoving down a burger in 5 minutes between Zoom calls or snacking through Netflix marathons. Eating slower actually helps your brain catch up to your stomach, which means you stop eating when you're full, not when you're stuffed. Another wild difference, Japan's got way fewer processed foods. Their supermarkets are full of fresh, real ingredients. Sure, they've got snacks and fast food chains, but they're not as dominant as in the US. And when you do grab something quick, it's usually a rice ball or a small bento box with vegetables, not a greasy double cheeseburger with a side of onion rings. Their convenience stores, called konbini, are basically stocked with balanced meals, not calorie bombs. Now, exercise, and you might think that's the big one, but actually, it's not about hitting the gym or CrossFit classes. It's more about lifestyle movement. Japanese people walk a lot. Their cities are designed for it. Public transportation rules the game. Trains, subways, buses, and to use any of them, you've got to walk. You're walking to the station, walking to your office, walking home again. And since a lot of neighborhoods are compact and safe, people don't mind doing it. Kids even walk to school on their own. That daily movement adds up big time. It's like sneaky exercise that just happens naturally without anyone thinking of it as a workout. You can feel the contrast if you've lived in the US. Most Americans drive everywhere. Our cities are spread out, and walking anywhere is kind of a hassle. You go from your house to your car, to the office, then to the drive-thru, then back home. The total walking distance for some people might be less than 1,000 steps a day. In Japan, people can easily rack up 8,000 to 10,000 steps without even trying. That steady physical activity keeps their metabolism active and calories in check, and no treadmill required. There's also the cultural pressure factor, and yeah, it's a big deal. Japanese society puts a strong emphasis on appearance, self-discipline, and fitting in. It's not always positive. There's definitely some harsh body image pressure, especially on women, but it does mean that people are more conscious about staying in shape. There's even government involvement. Since 2008, Japan's had a law called the Metabo Law, which encourages adults to keep their waistlines under a certain measurement to prevent lifestyle diseases. It's not like people get punished for being overweight, but it's a reminder baked right into their health system that obesity isn't something to shrug off. And let's talk mindset for a sec, because that's huge too. There's this Japanese principle called harahachibu, which basically means eat until you're percent full. It comes from Okinawa, one of the world's famous blue zones where people live crazy long lives. The idea is simple: don't eat until you can't move. Eat until you're satisfied. It's like built-in portion control, but it's cultural, not forced. People grow up with that mindset. Compare that to the American clean your plate mentality or the all-you-can-eat buffet culture, and no wonder the calorie gap is massive. Japanese food culture is also loaded with natural ingredients that promote gut health. They eat a lot of fermented food, like miso, natto, and pickles, which help digestion and support healthy gut bacteria. A balanced gut can influence weight and metabolism more than most people realize. And then there's green tea. They drink it all the time. It's got antioxidants, boosts metabolism, and replaces sugary drinks that Americans guzzle by the gallon. Another underrated factor? Their healthcare and school systems promote health from a young age. Japanese kids get home-cooked, balanced meals in schools that follow national nutrition guidelines. They're also taught to respect food, learn where it comes from, and avoid wasting it. Compare that to U.S. school lunches: pizza, chicken nuggets, and chocolate milk, and you start to see how these habits take root early in life. When healthy eating becomes second nature as a kid, it sticks with you into adulthood. The environment plays a big role too. Japan's urban layout encourages activity. You don't have huge parking lots or massive suburban sprawls. You've got compact spaces that are walkable and efficient. Even people living in smaller towns usually have to walk or bike to get around. On top of that, public transportation is so punctual and reliable that walking just becomes part of your daily rhythm. So instead of forcing exercise, movement is just built into the day. Socially, eating together also looks different. Meals are shared, portioned, and often eaten family style, but everyone's got their own little dishes. There's no culture of heaping seconds or stuffing yourself at social gatherings. Even at celebrations, the focus is more on the presentation and enjoyment of the food than on quantity. The Japanese also have fewer emotional eating habits. Of course, everyone gets stressed, but culturally, they're less likely to reach for comfort food when they're upset the way Americans do. Instead of ice cream binges or junk food therapy, you'll see people unwinding with a hot bath, a walk, or tea with friends. Now, we can't completely ignore genetics, even though that's not the main story. There are studies showing that East Asian populations, including Japanese people, have certain genetic traits that influence fat distribution and metabolism. They may have less of a tendency to store fat around the abdomen compared to Western populations. But genetics alone don't explain the full picture, and if they started eating and living like Americans, obesity rates would skyrocket too. In fact, as Western-style fast food becomes more common in Japan, obesity and diabetes rates are slowly creeping up. So it's clearly more about habits than daikane. Another piece of this puzzle is stress and how they handle it. You'd think living in such a workaholic society would pack on the pounds, right? But the Japanese have long traditions that help manage stress, like onsen, hot springs, tea ceremonies, and mindfulness-style activities. They have these built-in cultural outlets that keep their cortisol levels, that stress hormone that makes you store fat, lower than you'd expect, at least in day-to-day life. It's not perfect, Of course, there are issues like overwork and burnout, but culturally, they still value calm, order, and self-discipline, which helps maintain overall health. Balance, and here's a small but powerful thing: Japan doesn't push junk food advertising at kids nearly as hard as we do. The food industry in America is like a marketing machine. Kids grow up being bombarded by ads for sugary cereals, sodas, and candy bars. In Japan, that kind of advertising is much more restrained, so their relationship with food starts off less toxic. Healthy eating isn't sold as a diet or trend. It's just life. If you zoom out, it all makes sense. The Japanese way of living naturally encourages health. Smaller portions, cleaner food, more walking, slower eating, less sugar, and a cultural norm that values moderation and discipline, all that adds up. They don't have to go on diets because their lifestyle already is one, just in a chill, natural way. It's not about calorie counting or cutting carbs. It's just a different rhythm. Meanwhile, in the US, we're kind of fighting against our environment. Fast food's everywhere. Big portions are normalized. Work schedules are nuts, so people don't cook much. Cities are built around cars, not sidewalks. Even stress relief often involves food or alcohol. So staying slim here takes deliberate effort: gym memberships, diets, apps, you name it. In Japan, the system itself helps people stay fit without thinking about it too much. Now, that's not to say everything's perfect in Japan. They do have issues: rising fast food culture, aging population, and a growing number of lifestyle diseases as younger generations adopt Western habits. Plus, that social pressure to stay thin can be rough mentally. Eating disorders exist there too, and the obsession with being slim sometimes crosses into unhealthy territory. But overall, as a society, they've managed to build habits that line up way better with how the human body actually wants to function. When you really look at it, it's not some mystery. It's just the result of a culture that values simplicity, moderation, and routine. They eat real food. They move their bodies daily. They respect mealtime. They don't binge or rush. And they're surrounded by systems, from schools to cities to workplaces, that make those habits easy. It's basically the opposite of what's been going on in America for the last 50 years. If you tried to apply the Japanese model to the US, you'd have to overhaul a lot: city planning, school lunches, portion sizes, even our mindset about what a good deal looks like. But honestly, it's doable on a smaller scale. Americans can take notes from the Japanese lifestyle without giving up all our favorite foods. Start walking more, eat slower, skip the sugary drinks, cook at home more often, pay attention to portions. None of that's rocket science, it's just getting back to basics. So yeah, the reason Japanese people are so slim isn't some secret diet or magic metabolism. It's a combination of how they eat, how they move, how they think about food, and how their society supports all of that. It's a culture built around balance, mindfulness, and practicality, things that, ironically, Americans are now trying to rediscover through trendy diets and wellness apps. The Japanese just never lost it. If you spend any time there, you can feel it. The pace is steady. Meals are calm. People walk more, eat less, and live longer. It's not about obsession. It's about flow. And that, more than anything else, is probably the real reason they stay slim. They live in a world that makes being healthy the easy, natural choice.